They never saw her coming, because they never bothered to look past her quiet voice and neatly pressed uniform. But on the day the Falcon record was on the line, the woman they once dismissed as just a logistics officer would show them why some legends don't roar, they whisper. Captain Aisha Rahmani had spent 5 years in forward operations logistics, balancing fuel spreadsheets, coordinating supply convoys, and solving problems no one noticed until they went wrong. She wasn't the loudest, she wasn't the toughest looking, and she certainly didn't look like someone capable of breaking a record that had stood unchallenged for over a decade. To most soldiers, logistics was the back office of war. But to Aisha, it was the heartbeat. Still, the jokes came anyway. Hey Captain Clipboards, careful, she might attack us with a spreadsheet. Logistics isn't combat, ma'am. Leave the real missions to us. Aisha never reacted. She would only give a small smile, tuck her pen into her pocket, and return to her maps, mapping routes no one else could understand, spotting risks no one else could see. That uncanny ability earned her a quiet nickname among senior command. Ghost Eye. She could see problems before they existed. But no one outside Intel believed in her, yet. The crisis. It happened during the annual Falcon trial. A brutal, high-speed, precision navigation challenge meant only for elite reconnaissance officers. The course was infamous. 180 kilometers through shifting desert dunes, abandoned ravines, and wind tunnels that swallowed radio signals whole. Only 2 people had ever completed it under 6 hours. No one had come close since. This year, a convoy carrying life-saving medical equipment had broken down deep inside Falcon territory. A dust storm had torn through unexpected terrain, cutting off every standard route. Time: 6 hours before the patients would be lost. The only way in, or out, was through the Falcon corridor. Command gathered in the briefing tent. Who can run the route? The colonel demanded. The room fell silent. Every recon officer stepped back. Some had attempted parts of the corridor. None had survived the full length without extraction. Then Aisha quietly raised her hand. I can. The entire tent burst into laughter. You, Captain Logistics. Aisha, this isn't planning. This is field execution. Ma'am, that route eats operators for breakfast. She didn't flinch. I've memorized every dune shift for the past 8 years. I know every wind tunnel pattern, every dead zone, and every hour when the terrain softens. I can make the run, and I can bring the supplies back out. The colonel frowned. You've never attempted the Falcon trial. No, she said softly. But I've guided every team that has. The room hushed, because that part was true. The mission begins. Her transport was a modified Falcon rover, lightweight, reinforced suspension, built for speed, not comfort. Aisha tightened her gloves, strapped herself in, and whispered, let's bring them home. As soon as she crossed the first dune, the storm hit. Sand whipped against the windshield like shards of glass. The path blurred. The GPS flickered in and out. But Aisha didn't rely on electronics. She relied on memory. When the wind shifts east by 11 degrees, dune line delta collapses, she muttered. Stay right. The rover swerved, narrowly avoiding a dune wall that thundered to the ground behind her like an avalanche. 2 hours in, the ground turned into a maze of razorback ridges. One wrong turn would flip the vehicle end over end. Aisha exhaled slowly and pushed forward. The Falcon zone. At hour 3, she reached the Falcon corridor, the most brutal stretch of all. A long spine of desert cliffs, with unpredictable wind tunnels creating violent crosswinds. Every operator who had attempted it reported the same thing. You can't see, you can't breathe, you just survive. A gust hit the rover from the side, lifting 2 wheels off the ground. Warning alarms screamed. Her heart pounded, but she didn't back down. Not today, she whispered. She reduced speed by exactly 11%, the number she had calculated years ago from wind speed data no one bothered to read. The rover steadied. Then came the radio blackout zone. No contact with base, no navigation help, no updates, just Aisha, and the desert that swallowed legends. The broken convoy. At 4 hours 19 minutes, she found them, 2 trucks overturned, 1 radio destroyed, supplies scattered like debris after a battle. The sergeant stared as Aisha stepped out of the rover. Ma'am, how did you get here? Let's load everything. We have less than 2 hours. They worked fast. Aisha secured every crate with precision, redistributed the weight, ran checks faster than any mechanic. Follow me, the sergeant asked hopefully. Aisha shook her head. Your vehicles can't handle Falcon on return. Stay on emergency frequency. I'll get these supplies to the hospital. But you'll never make it back in time. Aisha smiled. You're forgetting my nickname. The record run. The return trip was worse. The storm intensified. The dunes shifted. The corridor winds doubled. The rover rattled so violently she could barely keep her hands steady. Her vision blurred. Her arms ached. But she kept going, whispering to herself. Left on the ridge, floor softens at dusk, wind tunnels rotate at this hour, stay low, keep breathing, you can do this, they need you. When she crossed the final ridge, her fuel gauge hit red. She could see the lights of the base, faint, shimmering through blowing sand. She pushed the accelerator. The rover roared like a wounded animal. Meters before the finish line, the engine sputtered, coughed, and died. But momentum carried her forward, rolling, rolling, rolling. Stop. Dust settled. Aisha exhaled. She had crossed the line. Time on the board flashed. 5 hours, 42 minutes. She had broken the Falcon record. The reaction. The same soldiers who once laughed at her ran toward the rover. Captain Ramani, you did it. My God. She broke the record. The colonel approached slowly, eyes shining with something like pride. You just accomplished something only 2 elite recon officers have ever done, he said. And you did it carrying half a ton of medical supplies. Aisha smiled, exhausted. I just did my job, sir. No, he said firmly. You reminded this entire base why logistics is the backbone of every mission. Why every soldier matters, and why underestimating quiet people is a mistake. The base erupted in applause. And for the first time, Aisha allowed herself to feel it, pride, relief, and a quiet satisfaction that she had finally proven that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's the steady voice that whispers through storms. The message, her story spread through the force like wildfire, not because she broke a record, but because she did it with humility, brilliance, and courage. From that day forward, no one called her Captain Clipboards. They called her only one name. Ghost Eye, the woman who saw what others couldn't. And who proved that greatness doesn't need permission, it just needs purpose.